All right. Hello, everyone. I'm not sure why it's fuzzy, why the screen is fuzzy or the camera is fuzzy, but I'm not going to be able to be on here for very long. But I did want to come on to just welcome you to the fall 2024 school year. So if you're a teacher, you're heading back, congratulations, you made it through the summer, and hopefully you had a rested summer. But if you're a homeschool parent that is here trying to learn more about how you're going to construct the art part or the art curriculum for your homeschooling family, then welcome as well. I'm going to go over a few things this evening that will hopefully help you in your preparation activities. So, first things first, I want to just encourage you to take a deep breath if you have not taught art before, if it's something that your students may have gone to school or to and they had an actual art teacher that's and you're kind of overwhelmed on the process of how you're going to select an appropriate curriculum that will guide your students and your children in their art journey. It's okay, just breathe. You'll be able to do it very well because I'm going to guide you on what are some things that you need to look for and make sure that you're attentive to. One of the main things is in visual arts, most courses and curriculum are taught by the state standards for whatever state you're in. So I am a Georgia educator, so we go by the Georgia Standards of Excellence. If you are in another state, check your state's Department of Education, and they can guide you to actually letting you know what actual um, standards they have. Now, some states do not have a visual art standards. They go to the national standards, so that's fine too. Those are great as well. And some states use both because they can correlate them and they can also connect them more succinctly to maybe lessons or topics. But it's okay either one that your state uses. You just want to make sure that you are checking or are going to the Department of Education's website and looking for those. And if once you find them, this will help guide you into determining whether the art curriculum that you're looking at purchasing or procuring in some way, so that for your students to do that, it's actually in line with a good set and rigorous standards, because you want your children to be able to do well. You want them to have flexibility somewhat in terms of, because art, of course, in itself, it has some flexibility because it can be student led in terms of subject matter they want to pursue. But in terms of skills and techniques, that's where the standards come into play. And so because they need to learn particular concepts, they do need to learn particular techniques, they need to learn about various types of media and how to use them. So media are the materials that they would use to create their artwork. So that's the word that you will hear often. Medium is the singular, and then media, which is if you have a number of different types. So if you have pencil and pen and marker, those are considered media. So you'll want to definitely keep a lookout for that you are checking and seeing what's going on in terms of your state's standards. And then, like I said, if it's national standards, those are great too. You just want to check and make sure that your curriculum that you're going to choose is aligned with that. Now, I want to talk to you more about the resources that you're going to use as part of the curriculum, because usually curriculum will give you the structure, the format, the techniques and topics, but they won't give you the tools that your students and your children will need to actually execute all of this. So one of the main things that you will hear a lot about as you're researching is the sketchbook. And now the sketchbook is vital. It's vital for your students. It's you can easily, you may see things saying that, oh, maybe try to get you can get a cheaper one. You can get a cheap one at maybe different, maybe some big box stores. And that's good if you are, just starting out, or you know that you won't really be using it for like a whole semester, or you'll just be using it possibly just for maybe a week or so. But if you're going to be using it for a semester, and your student's going to be using for a semester or a whole year, you need to get a solid, valuable sketchbook for them. So what goes in that sketchbook? Where everything that they're going to be learning, their techniques, they're going to be practicing in this sketchbook. So why is the sketchbook important? Because you may say they could practice on lined paper, they could practice on some copy paper we have around the house. Well, when they're using these different forms of media, so these different materials, they are needing different types of, they need specific paper. So if you doing something like when they get to their painting lessons, they're going to need some heavier weight paper. So usually the copy paper that we know of is called like 20-pound paper. So, technically, you would think it can hold 20 pounds of weight or water weight without before it tears apart. But if you get, when you're doing something like watercolor or acrylic paint, or tempera, which students often use, they'll need something heavyweight, a heavyweight paper. So I'm going to show you what that can end up looking like. Now that's here. So now this, because of course, I am a visual arts teacher, I'm a visual arts educator. So let's see if I can get this oriented. There we go. All right, so now this is a watercolor drawing and, well, painting that I did. I drew it out first and then painted it. And this is a great lesson. This was a plein air painting that I did. So plein air means you're doing it outside. You're doing something outside. So this is a great way to start off the school year, or the first week, or the second week, because a lot of students, some of them could be excited to come back to school, and then some are not as excited to come back. So they may need something else to kind of grabs them. So you may want to go outside and then look at and explore something and find things, or let them find things that they want to do. And you can use this for all age ranges. I've used this for elementary, middle, and high school, and they all love going and exploring. For the high schoolers, I turn it into a little bit more of, instead of just basically painting what they found, they're basically taking a resource, and then they are turning it into a story. They're basically creating a background to the painting in addition to the subject of the thing that they found outside, and they're turning it into what could possibly have occurred before this object that I found, before it got into the position it was located in. For example, if they saw a paper cup that was smashed, they could come up with a story of maybe what happened right before the paper cup was smashed, and include that in the background, and then in the foreground, they could think about, which the foreground meaning in the front, they could think about what would be something that they could say that could have happened while the paper cup was being smashed. In this case, I decided to do some daylilies. These are right before the daylilies would bloom. So I painted these daylilies, and then I developed the container, the plant container that they were in. They were in just a plain black pot, but I decided to use a reference of a pot, a planter pot, to create what I wanted for it, the actual pot to look like. So it doesn't have to be straightforward, where in terms of they have to just draw exactly what they see. If you can get from those two examples, it's a great way to engage children of all ages, because they're not really just focusing on one thing. They're not focusing just on, okay, I'm just going to paint what I see, or paint the dragonfly flying by, but I can imagine maybe what that dragonfly where it's getting ready to go, or what plant it just left, or what town it just came from, things like that, to really engage them. And then for the younger kids, of course, they can make their whatever their the subject, they can make it much bigger, and then they can focus on maybe expressions on the, if it's an insect, the expressions of the dragonfly's face, or maybe turn some, if they do plants, maybe turn the plants into maybe saying something. You wanting them to engage their imagination, because that's part of what art is. If I want to give you a quick fact about art, and let me see if I can pull this up for you. I'm going to pull it up because I want to get it exactly correct. Now, recently, they are doing research. The neurologists are doing research about what our brain actually looks like when it's doing art. It's become really fascinating, and they've done actual brain scans, because they found that when they were basically participants were finding, or when they were being shown different art pieces, it found that it increased as they were showing ones, especially the ones they liked. It increased up to about as much as 10% of blood flow to the brain, which and it increased the part of the brain that was associated with like love and excitement, would connects to equivalent of them looking at someone who they cared about, like a loved one, so like a parent or a sibling. It's really impactful. Art is really impactful, and it accesses many of the different parts of the human brain, such as these long scientific words, but intuitive analysis, in addition to expressivity, so expressing, being able to express yourself, and embodied cognition. So basically, it helps students and children actually have a better memory, and even adults that do art, it helps them have a better memory. That's why it's also been proven that students, when they take art classes, and they're allowed to flourish in them and advance and do multiple courses, they end up doing better on standardized testing, because they were able to capture the material that they need to know, and they were able to retain it. And of course, standardized tests are just part of the academic process, but they're also able to use like the design thinking process, which is they're able to break down a problem and develop a solution by coming up with different ideas, because you have more blood flow going to various parts of their brains, causing it to work in synergy, or work in sync. So art does a lot for all of us, and we see it in so many places. I mean, it's literally everywhere. Now there's the ongoing debate that, everything's art, and then, but the reality is a lot of what we do, what we interact with, has been created by an actual artist. For example, car vehicles. They've been created by car designers. These sports teams, they've been created. The sports teams, their jerseys have been designed by artists. Some of the Olympians that we see now have been their actual uniforms were created by various fashion designers. A lot of events like the World Cup, and then also the football tournaments, and the soccer tournaments, and all of those are designed by an actual event designer that creates all of these stages, and how the different performers are going to come in and go out and start, and how they're going to rise up from the floor. All of that is designed by an actual artist. So it's very important for students to learn and be able to develop in that area. So I want to leave you with those facts, but then also to let you know that these are just some things that you can do. This is one thing that you can do to engage your students at the beginning of the school year, by going outside and pulling something from outside in the world, and then having them paint it and do some plain air painting. That's what it's called, PLE I-N, air, A-I-R, painting. So there is basically translated into their outside painting. So it allows you to grab different forms of light as the day travels and changes throughout the day. The sun travels over the earth throughout the day. You get different shadows and everything. So that allows you to capture it when you're outside. And it, plus it gives the students they're able to get vitamin D, very vital vitamin D. All right, I'm going to say farewell for today, but I hope to see you again next time. I'm going to be live streaming quite often, so don't forget to like and subscribe, and to also let me know in the comments what are some things that you're looking at in terms of what types of media or medium that you're wanting to incorporate to allow your students to be involved with. Is it acrylic paint? Is it oil pastels? Are you wanting to do more fiber art like knitting or crochet, or your students want to do printmaking? Let me know in the comments, and I look forward to seeing you all soon.